I remember the year when the rains refused to come. The fields were dry, the rivers had shrunk, and the sky was a constant, burning blue. Our village was desperate. We had no food, and our animals were weak from thirst. That was when everything began to change for me and my family. My father, Olumide, was known as a man who loved life. He had a loud laugh, and he was always the center of attention at the village gatherings. But when the drought came, something in him changed. He decided that he would leave the village to find food and water. He said it was the only way to save us. My mother, Binta, was worried. She didn't want him to go, but he insisted. Before he left, Father promised us that he would come back soon. He said he would return with food and water, enough to last us until the rains came. He made us all swear that we would stay strong and wait for him. I believed him. We all did. Days turned into weeks, and still, Father did not return. We waited by the door each evening, hoping to see him walk up the path, but he never came. The hunger grew worse. My mother tried to keep us hopeful, but I could see the fear in her eyes. Mother did her best to keep us fed. She gathered wild fruits and dug for roots, anything to keep us from starving. She was a strong woman, but I could see her strength fading as the days passed. The drought was taking its toll on all of us. One afternoon, a stranger came to our village. He was an old man with a walking stick, and he looked tired from his journey. He told us that he had seen my father in a village far away. Father had not found any food or water, the old man said. Instead, he was living in another village, drinking palm wine and laughing with other men. We couldn't believe what the old man said. My mother refused to accept it. She said the old man must be mistaken, that he was confused. But deep down, I began to wonder if there was some truth to his words. That night, I had a dream. I saw my father sitting under a tree in a strange village. He was laughing and drinking, just as the old man had described. I woke up with a start, feeling confused and angry. I didn't know what to think anymore. The next morning, my mother made a decision. She told us that we could not wait for Father any longer. She said we would have to survive on our own. It was hard to hear, but I knew she was right. We couldn't wait forever. We had to do something. Mother decided that we would go to the river far beyond our village, where she had heard there was still some water left. It was a long and dangerous journey, but we had no other choice. We packed what little food we had and set off early in the morning. When we finally reached the river, we saw that it was nothing more than a small stream now. The water was dirty, and there were many other villagers already there, trying to collect what little water they could find. But at least it was something. We filled our pots and rested by the riverbank, grateful for even this small relief. After a few days, we decided to return to our village. We had gathered enough water to last us a while, but we knew it wouldn't be enough if the rains didn't come soon. Still, it was all we could do. We walked back, tired and worried, but with a little hope left in our hearts. When we returned to the village, the gossip had already spread. People whispered that my father had abandoned us. Some said he had found another family in the other village. Others said he had lost his way and would never come back. It was hard to hear these things, but we kept going, focusing on survival. One day, I overheard some men talking about my father. They were laughing and making jokes about how he had left us behind. Anger boiled inside me, and I confronted them. I told them they didn't know anything about my father, that he was coming back. But even as I said the words, I wasn't sure if I believed them anymore. A few days later, a great storm rolled in. It was not the rain we had hoped for, but a violent wind that tore through the village, destroying our homes and what little crops we had left. We huddled together in our broken hut, praying that it would pass quickly. When it was over, the village was in ruins. When the storm had passed, my father finally returned. He came back looking tired and worn, with none of the food or water he had promised. He didn't say where he had been, but we all knew. Mother didn't say a word to him. She just looked at him with a sadness that I had never seen before. The villagers were angry when they saw my father. They blamed him for leaving during the drought, for not being there when the storm came. Some even wanted to drive him out of the village. But my mother stood by him, despite everything. She said he was still our father, and we needed him now more than ever. The next few weeks were the hardest. We had little food, and the water was running out again. Father tried to help, but it was clear that he wasn't the same man he used to be. He had lost his spirit, and he didn't know how to make things right. We struggled, but somehow, we managed to survive. Just when we thought we couldn't go on any longer, the rain finally came. It started as a light drizzle, then grew into a heavy downpour that lasted for days. The field soaked up the water, and soon, green shoots began to appear. The drought was over, and life slowly returned to our village. In the end, my father never found the strength to lead us again. But we had learned to survive without him. My mother became the true leader of our family. She taught us that sometimes, the people we rely on the most can let us down, and when they do, we must find the strength within ourselves to carry on. That was the year I grew up and learned what it meant to be responsible. The drought had taken many things from us, but it had also given us the chance to discover our own strength. And that, in the end, was the most important lesson of all.